You know, for over 2 centuries, we've had this image of Victor Frankenstein, right? The mad scientist, the guy who played God and then paid the ultimate price. But what if we've been pointing the finger at the wrong crime this whole time? Okay, let's really dig into Mary Shelley's masterpiece and flip the central moral question on its head.
So I gotta ask you, what was Victor Frankenstein's real crime? I mean, really think about it. Was it the act of creation itself? That spark of life? Was it the sheer ambition of it all? Or was it something quieter, something more human, and a whole lot more tragic?
Yeah, here's the thing. His failure wasn't creating life, it was abandoning it. The real tragedy here isn't about some forbidden knowledge. No, it's about a total, catastrophic failure of responsibility. His biggest sin didn't happen in the lab. It happened the second he walked out that door.
All right, to really get this, we've got to put on our philosophy hats for a minute and look at Victor's ambition. He was what you might call a failed Übermensch, a creator who just didn't understand his duty to shepherd his own creation.
So, from a certain philosophical point of view, Victor is just bursting with what's called the will to power. It's that fundamental human drive for ambition, for achievement, for reaching the absolute peak. And man, did he have it. It pushed him to literally conquer death. But here's the catch. That kind of power, it's only half the story.
And this is where it all falls apart. See, there's a huge difference between technical skill and true greatness. Victor had the skill, no doubt. He could create life. That's insane. But true greatness? That's the will to actually shepherd and nurture what you've made. His ambition was all science, all intellect, and completely empty of the moral duty he'd just signed up for.
And honestly, that's the final verdict on him. Without that commitment to care, his incredible, world-changing breakthrough, it's totally meaningless. It's just hollow ambition. It's described as ethical cowardice, and that just hits the nail on the head.
So, let's talk about that ethical cowardice. How did it actually play out? Well, it all boils down to one single pivotal moment, the crime of abandonment. We need to look at the psychology of that failure.
This is it, the moment, the central tragedy. The creature's eyes flutter open, and Victor, he runs. He just bolts. That one act of flight, that's the ethical crime that sets off every single disaster that follows. Everything.
And it just triggers this cascade of failure inside his own head. He's got this kind of Freudian trauma going on, and he projects his own inner monster, all his guilt and ambition onto his creation. He doesn't see a newborn needing help. He sees a monster. And that immediate rejection, that revulsion, that becomes the root cause of everything.
Think about that choice. He chose his own comfort over compassion. He just couldn't face the struggle of caring for something different. It's a profound moral weakness, the kind of thing philosophers would call the act of the last man, someone who runs from any real challenge just to stay comfortable.
Okay, let's bring this down to something we can all understand, a parent's cruel neglect. Because when you strip away the philosophy, what you have is the trauma of neglect.
Some critiques point out that Victor's project was all sterile, masculine intellect. It was a technical problem to be solved, an ambition to be fulfilled. But it completely lacked that feminine principle of care, of empathy, of warmth. All the things that are actually required to nurture new life. He was a father, sure, but in name only.
We can actually put a clinical name to the trauma he inflicted: disorganized attachment. It's a severe form of insecurity that happens when a caregiver is both a source of comfort and a source of fear. Can you just imagine that? The one being in the entire world who is supposed to be your safe harbor is the very thing you're terrified of.
And let's be absolutely clear about this. Victor is morally responsible for what the creature becomes. The book tells us the creature began life benevolent and good. It was Victor's neglect, his failure, that slammed the door on any chance for happiness and directly turned it into a fiend.
But here's the twist. The tragedy doesn't stop with the creature. It boomerangs right back and shatters Victor's humanity too. He becomes the monster in the mirror, through his own cruelty and self-destruction. Just look at this comparison. They become these twisted mirror images. The creature is consumed by a thirst for vengeance, born out of total rejection. But Victor? He's consumed by obsessive neglect, self-pity, and hatred. He becomes a monster of inaction, while the creature becomes a monster of action. In the end, Victor's own humanity is just as eroded as the one he rejected.
So what's the big takeaway from all this?
There's a really powerful analogy that ties it all together perfectly. It's about the architect's obligation.
Think of it like this. Step 1, Victor is the architect, and his ambition lets him build a massive dam. Step 2, the dam is finished. That's the creature brought into the world. But then, step 3, the architect just walks away. He neglects it, fails to maintain this massive, powerful structure he's created. So what happens next? Step 4, the flood. The dam breaks, and the inevitable tragedy destroys everything in its path.
And that's the ultimate lesson, isn't it? It's simple and it's timeless. Ambition without moral responsibility is fundamentally self-destructive. It doesn't just hurt what you've made, it will always, always come back to destroy you.
Which brings us right back to our own world. I mean, we are standing on the edge of creating true artificial intelligence, of editing our own genetic code. So, Mary Shelley's 200-year-old question is more urgent than ever. What is a creator's permanent obligation to what they create? The real question is, are we going to be better architects than Victor Frankenstein?